I used the Thriving in Motherhood journal for 30 days, and I'm going to tell you today what I discovered. What were some of the actual logistics of being consistent with something for 30 days? What was the impact that it had in my life? And then my invitation for you. But before we jump into what happened today, day 30, looking back, let's jump back into day 1. I have been using this Thriving in Motherhood journal off and on for many years. I created it, a few years ago during a really hard season where I wanted to not have to be like surviving in those hard seasons. I wanted to be able to thrive in the hard seasons. And so, because they just keep coming, right? That's part of life. And so typically I have used the journal for 1 or 2 days a week max. And it makes a big difference for those 1 or 2 days. And then I kind of just like ride that wave until I'm like, I'm struggling, and then do it again. And so I really wanted to see what would happen for me if I used it long term, more than 1 day.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast.
Did I do it 30 days straight? No, I was so close though. So first I made it 4 days and then canceled. It just didn't, life got hard. So then I started fresh and then I made it 12 days. And then I just tanked with my health and some of our circumstances, and it just was a full stop. So then I picked it up from day 12 a few days later and finished the 30 days. And I did that consecutively straight. So first of all, as you maybe want to embark on your own 30-day challenge, know that even I, who was very committed to doing this 30 days, with the reality of everything going on in my life, didn't hit it actually every 30 days, but it kind of doesn't matter because 1, it feels amazing to have done something for 30 days, even though there was a bit of a gap in between the day 12 and, days 18, the 18 days after that. But the impact on my life was incredible. But first, let's talk about the logistics of how you actually do this. So first of all, you have to have a pen ready, and that pen needs to stay by your journal because for me, non-starter, if I cannot find a pen, we're done. And in this house, pens just walk away. So pen by your journal, make it ironclad. In fact, I kept 4 there so that there was always at least 1 available. The next thing is that I had multiple windows of time when I could journal. So in the morning when I first woke up was a potentially great time. And in the evening before I went to bed was potentially a great time. Now my personal preference was, and then during the middle of the day, during quiet time, I could also journal. Now my personal preference, what I love this the most would be to do a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the evening. The original Thriving in Motherhood journal actually had morning and evening questions, but then it's kind of a problem because as I learned, it's really hard to do both every day. And so I would kind of do some in the morning and some in the evening. And that's the ideal. Reality was though, sometimes I would get to the end of the day and just do it at the end of the day. And sometimes I'd wake up in the morning and I would just do it in the morning. And if I just found myself going in a stretch of just doing morning to morning to morning, I would start by reflecting about the previous day first and then look ahead to the next day. So that's kind of how I did it. But again, the way that I was consistent was just saying, I'm going to do this today. If I can't do it first thing in the morning because I woke up or my kids were, I woke up late or my kids were up early or, I don't know, I had to meet a deadline or we were having to get somewhere, whatever. There's so many reasons why I couldn't do it first thing in the morning over the last 30 days. Then I would just pump it to quiet time. If for some reason it didn't happen in the middle of the day, then I, went to the end of the day. So there were lots of opportunities. And learning to be flexible too with this, I can do it anytime and it's going to be helpful was really crucial into this. And this idea of being okay with picking it back up even though I stopped. And sometimes it was just, I didn't get it to it the night before, so I'm going to do it this morning. And sometimes it was, massive migraine, life shut down for a couple days. We had some survival things happen with kids. I'm going to take a 4-day break and then I'm going to start again. This is also a really important logistical thing. I did not answer every question every day. Now, during the course of 30 days, I found all of the questions incredibly helpful. And I did answer all of them at least once, but usually more often. But every day had its own needs and its own challenges and its own things that I was seeking. Different bits of revelation or different things stood out to me. And so every day had different questions answered. And so this page had 4 boxes blank. This page had them all had all but 1 answered. This one had all but 2 answered. This one had all of them answered. This one was missing 2. I don't know. You get the idea. This one I only answered 3 and the rest were missing. So it's very common for me to not have answered all the questions. The other thing too is I found that while some maybe would seem like you would do in the morning, it was really interesting to reflect on them. So, for example, what would God have me do today? Sometimes in the morning I had no clue, but by the end of the day, it was very clear what his agenda was for me that day that was maybe different than my own. Really powerful. So you just kind of use it as you, it meshed into all of my 30 days in effective ways. And then, this is another thing. There are daily and weekly pages. And so you have a weekly page and then you have 7 daily pages and a weekly page and 7 daily pages. Because of how I use the journal, it isn't perfect. Like I have a weekly page and then it's like Sunday through Saturday and a weekly page and Sunday through Saturday. So the way that I conquered this is just I picked the next empty daily page. When I got to Sunday, which is when I like to do this review process, I just go back to the empty weekly page and then just kept on going. So I like it to be neat and tidy and perfect, but it's not. It's a usable tool, and so I let it get messy and mucked up. You can think of it like a workbook. It's not going to be perfect. It's still going to be really effective. Okay, those are my logistical tips. Impact. What difference did this make in my life? Now, this I'm really curious about because as you heard, that very first day, for my first day, I knew that using it 1 day a week was really impactful. I knew that using it in hard seasons was impactful. What I had no clue was just how far-reaching the impact would be on my life using it consistently during 30 days. And I didn't plan this, but it was a really, really hard 30 days. We had incredibly hard challenges. We had health things come up. We had surgery for one of my children happen in there. That was a little bit crazy. We've had, intense work things with my husband's jobs. He was traveling, so I was soloing it for a while. It's a busy time. It's the end of the year. So we had, lots of things going on for the kids and, with our church callings and things like this was just a really intense period of time. Loads of doctor's appointments, loads of medical tests. It just keeps going. Okay. So this was a great time because I was floundering. This has been a hard year for our family. And so I was floundering. That's when I even started it. It was because okay, it's time. I'm mentally struggling here. What can I do? I can use the journal. So first of all, I am surprised how much joy I felt in these 30 days. Things it was so startling to me because I'd be going about my day and I'd be like, oh, joy, this is such a sweet thing. This is such a happy moment. And for me in those hard times, that is not typically how I think at all. It's very easy for me to just kind of, be serious and power through. But I was literally startled at least once a day, often, by this feeling of joy that I had with my family. And there was always something simple, but it was really, really powerful for me. I found that because I was consistently going through this process of answering questions, processing these emotions that I'm having about hard things, that and also just getting in a good place in my mind, that I was able to be a more confident and consistent parent during a hard season. So, years ago, I did a podcast episode about how, when I'm really, really struggling, oftentimes I just kind of let things slide as a parent, as one of my techniques to not make everything so combative, just really pick my battles. And I felt like because of the journal, I was actually able to hold a higher standard, but also higher support. And in the past, because I couldn't offer that higher support, I had to lower my standard. But because of this journal, I was able to do both, keep the standard and offer higher support to match it and just be a really healthy parenting experience. I was able to go through some intense stuff and process those hard emotions, and it didn't happen in a day. And it wasn't just the emotions. I felt like I was wrestling with God and I was praying through things, and amazed at like how timely some of those scriptures, there's a scripture at the top of every page, and sometimes those scriptures were spot on answers to exactly what I needed to hear, and to help me find the truth and just allow the Spirit to work on my mind and to think differently than I was thinking before and get some really clear answers. And so that was a very powerful experience for me over the process of many days, and just surprised at how those answers came with the journal. I found that this question of what does God want me to do today, just even having it kind of in the back of my mind, or, aware, I found way more opportunities to serve during these 30 days in simple ways than I have like during this big year with our family just being so consumed, and more joy in serving my family. I know a lot of like some people that maybe isn't hard for them. For me, it's fun and nice and exciting to go serve people either I don't know, like strangers, or do a big service project, or people outside of our home. Like I get a big boost on that. In my family though, sometimes I can be like a martyr instead of enjoying the service. And I feel like one of the big shifts for me is really understanding and feeling that this is like a great work that I'm doing within the walls of my home and with my kids, which makes me more patient and kinder and happier to be doing these things. But also I found that I was just seeing more opportunities. So like going to the grocery store and helping a lady get her groceries into her car and, close the, put the gate away, or put the cart away for her. Or anyway, listening to someone that needed to talk at the library. And I don't know, just like these little things. And so my day was just infused with a little bit more joy because I was a little bit more aware of the people around me in small ways. And then there's other things that I did that were more significant, that were more, changed my day and were more, technically more inconvenient, but really powerful and important. But I would have potentially missed that if I hadn't been seeking so intentionally for these opportunities. One of the things that was really interesting is like my health during this time wasn't awesome. But when I went back and looked at all that was accomplished during this time, during my monthly review in the Thriving in Motherhood Planner, it was kind of miraculous how much got done in our home with podcasting things, with projects that we have. We built a huge retaining wall in the garden and more garden boxes, and I've really expanded over there and planted things out, and just like massive progress on a lot of things despite the craziness and my health not being awesome. And I would attribute that to this question, which is, what are the next actions for my 3 priorities for the week? And so because of that question being asked consistently every single day, it just gave me that laser focus. So maybe even if I wasn't in the Thriving in Motherhood Planner every day because we were in survival mode, I was at least asking myself, like, top of brain, what do I need to do to move things forward? And maybe I couldn't always, but often I was able to seize moments that I maybe would have missed because I had that clarity about what needed to happen. The other thing that just blew me away is normally when I'm in these hard seasons, I feel so much mom guilt about what I can't do for my kids or what I'm not being for my kids. But this question is, what is one thing that would help me feel successful at the end of the day today? Brilliant about having that question in a hard season is that I could ask that every single day and make those tiny course corrections or pivots, or the things that were really bothering me or I was feeling bad about. I just took care of it that day. I didn't have to let it carry day over day. I didn't have to let it build up to this big, huge story or this horrible thing that was paralyzing me, where I was just walking around feeling bad and grumpy and creating the snowball effect. I just identified the thing that was top of mind, that was important, wrote it down, made sure it happened. And it was different every time. Like sometimes it was connecting with my kids. Sometimes I had these beets growing in the garden that I wanted to take care of one day that I just wrote down to tackle it. I knew I needed to do school with kids. One time I needed to record a video for Mom Matters 2 that was staying on top of that content. I needed to buy kids clothes for Sunday so that my kids had better church clothes for hot weather, because here it is hot. I heard it was snowing in Utah yesterday. We were talking to our family, but it was 90 degrees here. So took care of that. Stay off my phone, and with that extra space, listen to my kids. So work on bedrooms with my kids because the rooms were dirty. Grocery shopping, get that list prepared, get this podcast episode tackled, and be engaged with my kids. So see, every day there's so much, it's different. Every day it was different, but it was a thing that would have carried with me. Math one day with every child. Yeah, spending time with my parents because they came to visit during this time, just for a short time, which was so fun. Another thing was that in the past, in these hard seasons, I would often feel a lot of stress or anxiety thinking about the day ahead, because it's hard when you're tired and you're exhausted and just there's so much coming at you. And I don't know, when my child had surgery, I didn't sleep. I got like 2 hours of sleep that night because I was helping this child who was nervous. And then it was a very full day. It was pretty crazy. But what I discovered is because every night I'm asking these questions about big wins and how is God involved and what are the magic moments and what am I grateful for, that has greatly curbed some of that anxiety that I was feeling, plus those proactive questions that I'm asking every morning or, every at least 24 hours to help me gauge what's important. And that has made all of the difference for me and just cut out a lot of that emotional exhaustion. Because what I discovered many years ago was that I was making hard circumstances even harder by how I was thinking about them. And so one way that has been combated for me is just kind of taking control of my mind and looking at certain things so that pushes out a lot of fear and anxiety. And the other question in there that I didn't answer every day, but on some of my hard days, I really was grateful for it, which is what are some unhelpful thoughts today and how can I think about this differently? I feel like I've been practicing this for so many years that a lot has just naturally, over time, I've been able to kind of retrain my thought processes. But at least once a week, I would have a time where I was having some really rough thoughts that was making things harder than they needed to be. And I could just tackle them head on instead of having them carry over day after day and snowball into something bigger and bigger. Something else that was just great was that I naturally got into a good bedtime routine because I was journaling and not doing tech stuff. Like it just created a much harder line in the sand for me of when I'm going to be off my phone. And then that snowballed into reading more at night. Like I normally read them during the day, but reading books at night was like just a natural follow through, or reading more scriptures or having better talks with my husband or, us reading more scriptures together in the evening and just, I don't know, like asking him these questions also became something really powerful for us to discuss together and bring just more intentionality into our conversations and into our marriage because we're both going through hard things. And so it was a way that we could kind of elevate us together by using some of these prompts. Even though we were writing down, it just made for really excellent conversation. Something else that really surprised me a lot by using this is that I felt less resistance to asking for help because I could see the miracles of having people involved in my life through God and the blessings of helping other people. And for some reason that has been really hard for me to ask for help in the past, but it started to come more easily, and accepting help more graciously came more easily after working through this 30-day exercise in the journal. So am I glad that I did it? Absolutely. I had no idea just how dramatically I would experience life differently after doing this. And I couldn't have planned a more perfect time because we were going through the gauntlet of hard during this time. We were just doing so many hard things during this time. And the thing that just astounded me was I felt like my capacity and my ability to recover in between these hard things went faster, and that my capacity increased, that my recovery time shrank like the necessary, and I'm starting to rebound and find myself being way more resilient than I would have been otherwise. So that in and of itself is incredible. So it did take some intentionality, it did take some effort, but it has paid dividends, and I'm going to keep going with it because it has been so powerful and life-changing, honestly, in my life. So my invitation for you, if you already have a Thriving Mother journal and you haven't finished using it, go ahead and pull it out and commit to doing this for 30 days. And it doesn't even have to be 30 days in a row, but it is really powerful if you can do it in a condensed period of time and just seeing for yourself how this impacts you. I would love to hear. Second of all, I would really appreciate it if you have already bought the journal to head over to Amazon and leave a review of the Thriving Mother journal there. I will leave a link for you so it's easy to find. I would love to get 100 reviews on Amazon because it will help other mothers find this journal, and I want to help as many women as possible change how they're experiencing motherhood. So if you are using it and you love it, you can also share it word of mouth. I would greatly appreciate that. If you don't have it yet, this could be a great gift for yourself for Mother's Day, because this is something that's going to impact you. It's going to impact your family for the way better. And then with the journal, I have bonuses that go along with it. I'm going to be updating those bonuses. So if you already own the journal, you have access to the bonuses. Awesome. You're going to see them in there. They're just going to populate for you. If you haven't bought it yet, you can buy it and then grab the bonuses and you will get them all right away. So I am so grateful that you are here. I would love to hear what your experience has been with the Thriving in Motherhood journal, and I would really greatly appreciate your help with leaving reviews on Amazon so that other mothers can find it too. Have a great week.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.